Hello. It's been quite a while. I know. But today I thought it would be fun to share my favorite books from 2020 because just like 2020, most of us are inside and still reading a lot, so why not share some of my favorite books? So if you're still in that reading mode, you can pick up some of these as well. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's just get started, shall we? Let's start off a little bit lighthearted. If you're looking for some books that are more of like a rom-com or something just like super light to like settle down at the end of the day, not overthink, just have something fun, this is the series for you. So this series is To All the Boys I've Loved Before, and then it goes to P.S. I Still Love You and Always and Forever. You can see the little series here. This was actually a Netflix show. Would I recommend the show? Not really. I honestly think the books were way better than the show. If you've already watched the show, would I recommend the books? Probably not. They're just too similar, and I find that the style of book of more like rom-com style book, once you know the ending, it's just not as entertaining in my opinion, but maybe you really love the show, so maybe you will love this. But in my opinion, once you know the ending, then it's not very entertaining to read. So if you've already watched a show, maybe skip this, but if you haven't and you're looking again for something more a little bit like lighthearted and fun, this is the go-to. They're really small, quick books, so just a good little heartfelt thing. They're more like a teen read too, so if you're looking for something a little bit like easy. This is The Alchemist. I've read this book probably every year since high school. It's just like every year I swear it changes a bit. And that's kind of the awesome thing about this book is it's kind of just like more of a deep meaning about like how you should follow your like life path, and just like some obstacles that will go in the way. You shouldn't, like, it's so easy to get deterred, and nothing's wrong with that at the same time, and nothing's wrong with just completely ditching your path if that feels better to you. Like, it's just a very interesting book, written more as like a storytelling in more of a fantasy style way, and it's a bit spiritual but also not. I feel like you can just take this book in so many different aspects. So if you're spiritual or not, or if you're going through something or not, it's just, again, like how I said, every single year I've read this, I take away something different, and that just goes to show that depending on where you are in life, you'll take this differently. But I do find that the messages in here are just like super meaningful, and I just love it. And I think it's a really great way to, if you're kind of like, I don't know what I want to do, or just looking for something more like a self-help book in a way, but not, this is one I would definitely recommend. Next up, I have The Supermarket. Just a plain red cover. Maybe I have a thing for red and blue covers because that typically seems to be the color I go for in books. And I know that, like, I don't know, I'm very curious if like the cover actually persuades you in getting a book or not. I would really like to know. Anywho, so The Supermarket. This is actually by Bobby Hall, which he's not really a writer. He's, well, I mean, if you count like a Grammy nominated best-selling artist a writer, then, which kind of he is in a different aspect, but he doesn't write books often. This is just something that he did as a side hobby, and I love that about it. It's actually kind of funny. I read the end passage at the back with his friend's little words, and his friend basically like dared him to write it, and he just did. So I think that's kind of funny. So this book is more of like a thriller in a sense. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen at the end, and it sends you down one of those like mind screws where you're thinking like, oh, this is what's happening the whole time, and then near the end of the book you're like, have I been looking at this the wrong way? I love that. I love those kind of movies. I love those kind of books. They just keep you going the whole time. Like, as soon as you think you know what's going on, you start to get bored. Nope, another side comes, and that's what makes it interesting. It's called The Daily Stoic. You can see every single day there's like a little quote and then a passage about the quote. So it's only one page for each day, which is awesome. And I'm reading it again this year, 2020, because to be honest, I didn't look at it every single day, so there's definitely some that I missed. So going through it this year, it's kind of just doing it again for the first time, because there's a bunch, again, I didn't actually read. I like to use this kind of more as like a meditation form. So I'll read the passage and it makes you have that kind of like wandering aha moment, and then from there I do like a little meditation. It's kind of like a sci-fi alternate reality. Love those kind of books. I love them so much. I love them in movies, I love them in books. Alternate, apocalyptical. I just think it's so interesting to think about the world in like a different form, but not like a completely different form. Like I'm not a huge fan of like, don't hate me, but I'm not a huge fan of like Harry Potter because it's just a bit too fantasy for me. I like when there's just like the same world we live in, but twist a key and one thing's different. Now everyone's like a bit changed. So this is what kind of happens here. Basically, you can take one test and it will like a DNA test, and it will tell you who your perfect match is. And so you can find out who your perfect match is in life, and they could be like across the world or whatever, and it's like your DNA genetic perfect match. And so in the story, it kind of has like a couple different characters, each of them in different aspects. It's just really interesting. It kind of shows how maybe this concept could be detrimental but also could be amazing. He showed basically one example was like a murderer ends up with a cop, and that's like I wonder how that works out. Moving on along, I have 3 more, and I do apologize. I realized when I just talked about that last book that I actually talked about what the book was about, and the ones before that I maybe didn't really. I don't want to give things away, so if my little highlight of things just entice you to look them up, I'm gonna leave all the links in the description to like chapters versions of those books that you can read the description of. I just want to like show the books that I liked, and then you can kind of look them up and see if you want to further them just based on my small description. I hate watching book reviews and someone like fully gives away the book and then you're like, I don't even care to watch it now at this point. So sorry if that's what you're looking for, but that's not my favorite style of book reviews. So anyways, I'm gonna keep going with what I'm doing here. This next one, super famous. This book was on the top list of chapters for so long, and rightfully so. It is very cute and it's so interesting the way it's written. I have like a love-hate for the way it's written. It talks about maybe like a darker subject of like anxiety and like hard life situations that people have to go through, but in such a lighthearted, funny way. Like I don't know how those two can be put together, but when you're reading this book it seems like you're almost like watching a comedy show, if that makes sense. Like the way it's written is just very almost like a TV show script, so it just seems so lighthearted when you're reading it, but underlying it all is some very heavy topics, so it's just pretty interesting. Super good read, but again I'm kind of like torn on if I liked it or not, because I'm not really into that Comic Sans kind of vibe, and this had like a little bit of that, but again underneath was a very deep topic, so I don't know. But I did fly through it really quickly. Next one is The Book of Two Ways by Jodi Picoult. I am a huge fan of Jodi Picoult. I read her stuff. I've read basically all of her books, most of them, except for like the really old ones. I'm just more into her like new moderner ones, because a lot of her topics are more modern topics. They kind of go with the times a bit. So anyways, and I love that she like switches from characters in most of her books. This one she actually sticks with the same character the whole time, but she talks through like different like timelines of this character, and essentially, I can say this because it happens right away, but the girl gets into a plane crash, and in that plane crash she was like one of the only people to live in it, and from there she visualized someone she hasn't seen in a very long time, which made her think, did I take the wrong path in my life, and should I be exploring this one? So when she survived, she started to think, I need to go see this person that I visualized, even though I haven't seen them in forever. A lot of topics on the actual Book of Two Ways, so you learn a lot of history in this book, which I find super fascinating. It wasn't like too much history that I got bored of it, but it was enough that it was kind of cool to learn about something at the same time as just like reading a fantasy. Last but not least, The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This was also in Chapter's top read for a very long time. I would kind of describe this a book based off the board game Clue, but not. It's in the same sense where people are all stuck in the same hotel and there's a murderer and you have to figure out who it is. So you think you know who it is for a majority of the time, but then last minute you're wrong, it's someone else, and the person is stuck with them. So interesting ending. Did I find the end of the book a little too long? A little. Like once you know who it is at the end, it just like draws out a bit too much. If you've read this book, let me know if you feel the same way, but I did really like this and I would recommend it. That ends off my book pile that you can see over here. I hope that you guys might find one within that you want to read this year. If you have read any of those, please comment down below your thoughts on them as well. I am a big book fanatic. It's a great way to unwind the night. So if you have any recommendations for me based on what you think I would enjoy, please leave that, again, comment down below. But give this video a like if you enjoyed it. And sorry I've been away for a while. I will be back for more videos to come. So yeah, nice seeing you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!